Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great honor to have such a great opportunity to present our work in the Charles Hatchett Award lecture. In this lecture, I would like to present our previous work on unraveling the nature of anomalously fast energy storage mechanism in T-niobium oxide. Niobium oxides exist in a variety of forms. When the amorphous niobium oxide is heated to different temperatures, it will form different phases. At high temperature, it crystallizes as the H niobium oxide, the high temperature phase. When the niobium oxide is heated to the intermediate temperature, it will form the B phase or the M phase, the intermediate phase. At low temperature, the most stable structure is the T niobium oxide, the low temperature phase. When the structure of T niobium oxide was resolved in the 1970s, it didn't receive too much attention regarding its materials functions and materials capabilities. And until very recently, the T niobium oxide was found to have a few very attractive, unique properties. So here is the structure of T niobium oxide. The T niobium oxide crystallizes as an orthorhombic structure. The space group is orthorhombic PBAM, number 55. In the unit cell of T niobium oxide, each niobium ion is coordinated by either 6 or 7 oxygen ions, forming the NbO6 or NbO7 polyhedron. The bonding of NbO6 or NbO7 polyhedron through oxygen construct the unit cell of T niobium oxide. As we can see, there are many niobium ions and oxygen ions in one unit cell, so the stoichiometry of a unit cell is very complicated. It can be written as niobium 16.8 oxygen 42. So on the basis of this complicated unit cell structure, when the T niobium oxide is applied as the lithium battery electrode, it presents very unique battery behavior. The capacity of T niobium oxide is almost independent with the charging rate. For example, in a cyclic voltammetry measurement, as the scan rate increases, the cyclic voltammetry current almost increases linearly with the scan rate. And this figure right here shows the rate capability of T niobium oxide. And we can see that at a very high charging rate, for example 100 C, the delivered capacity is almost comparable as the capacity of a low charging rate. And comparing to lithium titanium oxide, which was known for its good rate capability, we can see that the rate capability of T niobium oxide is even much better. So that means the T niobium oxide presents unparalleled rate capability comparing to other transition metal oxides. And this implies that the T niobium oxide can be made as a unique battery which allows super fast charge and discharge. So as we all know that lithium batteries are critical components for modern life and modern industry. Without lithium batteries, our portable electronics such as cell phones, tablets, and laptops won't work. And also, in order to alleviate the environmental issues caused by internal combustion engines, a lot of electrical vehicles adopted by lithium batteries are on the road. However, unfortunately, the current lithium batteries are not so perfect, especially when it comes to the rate of charge. For instance, filling up the gas tank of an internal combustion engine car only takes a few minutes. However, fully charging up an electrical car powered by lithium batteries at least takes a few hours. So if a battery that allows super fast charge is realized, so everything is plug and go, including for electrical cars, cell phones, and laptops, and our life can become much convenient. So given the very unique battery behavior of T niobium oxide, in a scientific perspective, the fast charging behavior of T niobium oxide brings very important scientific questions. So the first question is how lithium ions are stored in T niobium oxide. In this question, we need to address the crystallographic site of lithium stored in T niobium oxide, and also resolve the local coordination of each lithium in T niobium oxide. And the second question is, why the lithium-ion storage in T-niobium oxide so fast? In order to answer this question, we need to analyze the lithium-ion transport paths in T-niobium oxide and analyze the corresponding kinetic properties. And the third very important question is, how does T-niobium oxide compare with other important battery materials? And why is the unparalleled rate capability only found for T-niobium oxide, not in other transition metal oxides? And here are the objectives of the study. So the approach we use to review the structural information of T-niobium oxide is Raman spectroscopy. So in this slide, I would like to give a very brief introduction about the fundamentals of Raman spectroscopy. So suppose we have a crystal. The atoms or the ions in the crystal can vibrate freely, and we can imagine that the atoms or the ions are connected by the springs. And this vibration can lead to a series of vibrational energy level. Raman spectroscopy is based on the inelastic scattering between light and the crystal. And during this inelastic light scattering process, the vibrational energy level can be excited. At the same time, it will change the properties of the scattered light. So by analyzing the properties of the scattered light, essentially we'll have one Raman spectrum which contains a lot of information. For example, the number of Raman bands in the Raman spectrum can reflect the number of Raman active vibration modes. The positions of the Raman bands in the Raman spectrum can reflect the energies of Raman active vibration modes. The intensities of the Raman bands can reflect the polarizability of Raman active vibration modes, and the profiles of the Raman bands can sometimes reflect the external factors applied on the crystal. So in principle, Raman spectroscopy can give us a lot of information on the scattered light, and the properties of the scattered light can reflect the properties of the material, and this is the basis of this study. And furthermore, in order to track the structural change of T-niobium oxide during active battery cycling, we extend the normal Raman spectroscopy to operando Raman spectroscopy. The operando Raman spectroscopy basically combines the normal Raman spectroscopy with real battery operation. For an operando Raman spectroscopy measurement, during an active battery operation, the battery material was exposed to the instant laser for Raman spectrum excitation. So the Raman spectrum acquisition and battery operation are performed at the same time. So this figure right here shows the detailed construction of our operando Raman cell. Relying on this construction, the electrode will experience the same electrochemical environment just like in a normal battery. So after an operando Raman measurement, we will have an operando Raman spectroscopic evolution. The Raman signal can be expressed as a function of electrochemical parameters such as cell potential, current, charge, and time. So for an operando Raman spectroscopic evolution, any changes on the spectra can reflect changes on the material properties, such as appearance of new bands, band shifts, profile changes, and intensity changes. So relying on this powerful technique, we expect to reveal the structural change of T-niobium oxide during active charge and discharge. So as the first step of the study, the T-niobium oxide battery electrodes were fabricated by a sol-gel method. So here in the scanning electron microscope images of T-niobium oxide, we can see that the T-niobium oxide electrodes have a flat geometry and consist of very small nanoparticles. Also, this T-niobium oxide electrode contains no binder and carbon additives, which are commonly found in normal lithium-ion battery electrodes, in order to make the Raman spectrum analysis simple and more reliable. The X-ray diffraction pattern of the T-niobium oxide prepared in this study matches the standard database of T-niobium oxide exactly, and also as we can see in here, the battery behavior of the prepared T-niobium oxide electrodes is totally consistent with previously reported battery behavior of T-niobium oxide electrodes. So based on these simple basic material properties, the prepared T-niobium oxide battery electrodes are ideally suited for further Raman analysis. So here shows the Raman spectrum of a T-niobium oxide electrode, and we can see that the Raman bands are pretty broad and pretty stacked. The reason for the band stacking is because the unit cell structure for T-niobium oxide is highly complicated. As we mentioned previously, there are more than 50 atoms in one unit cell, so the total number of vibration modes will be more than 150. So in order to have an accurate Raman spectrum analysis, we separate the Raman bands to 3 Raman band groups: the low wave number band group, the mid wave number band group, and the high wave number band groups. The properties of these important band groups during operandal measurement will tell us the property changes of T-niobium oxide during battery cycling, and this will serve as the basis for operandal Raman analysis. So when the T-niobium oxide electrode was applied in the battery, and here is the operandal Raman spectroscopic evolution. The cell potential was scanned from a high potential state of 3.0 volt to a low potential state of 1.2 volt and back to a high potential state of 3.0 volt. During the potential scanning, the Raman spectrum was acquired every 100 millivolts. As we can see, from the high potential state to the low potential state, the high wave number band group experienced a very significant intensity decrease. At the same time, the mid wave number band group shows a very significant band splitting behavior, and the low wave number band group shows a band blue shift. At the same time, we can see that all electrolyte bands, such as the DMC dimethyl carbonate solvent and lithium perchlorate, remain static at all times. So that means the properties of the electrolyte stay stable during operandal measurement. When the cell potential was scanned from the low potential state back to the high potential state, we can see that the evolution is totally reversible. That is, the high wave number band group experienced a significant intensity increase, the mid wave number band group experienced a band merging effect, and the low wave number band group shows a band redshift. At the same time, all electrolyte bands remain static at all times. So when the operandal Raman measurement for a single cycle is extended to multiple battery cycles, and we can see that the spectral change of further cycles, which is demonstrated by the color scale showing here, is exactly the same as the spectral change of the first cycle. So that means the spectral evolution of T-niobium oxide is highly reversible in consecutive cycles. And this suggests that the structure of T-niobium oxide is highly stable with consecutive battery cycling. All spectroscopic features can be well quantified and quantitatively correlate with battery behavior of T-niobium oxide. For example, the splitting and merging of the mid wave number band group can be deconvoluted to individual peaks, and the positions of these individual peaks can describe the stage of splitting and merging of the mid wave number band group very quantitatively. After the quantification, all spectral features can be plotted as a function of cell potential along with charge stored as a function of cell potential. We can see that the evolution of spectral features is totally consistent with evolution of charge storage as a function of cell potential. And that means the evolution of spectral features can accurately describe the stage of T-niobium oxide structural change during active battery cycling. So now we have the consistent Raman spectroscopic evolution. So now the question is, how can we find the mechanism from this spectroscopic evolution? So before we answer this question, we need to resolve the relationship between the spectral evolution and the structural change. So the lithium-ion storage in T-niobium oxide will definitely change the structure of T-niobium oxide, and then will change the properties of the vibration modes, and will change the apparent evolution of the 3 important Raman band groups. So in order to get the mechanism information from the evolution of the band groups, all we have to do is to make a hypothetical model of lithium-ion storage in T-niobium oxide and use density functional theory DFT calculation to calculate the change of T-niobium oxide structure caused by lithium-ion storage, and calculate the change of properties of vibrational modes, and calculate the change of evolution of the three major band groups. And then we can compare the experimental evolution of the three major band groups with the theoretically calculated ones. Then if it is consistent, then we can verify the model of lithium-ion storage. So in the next few slides, we'll address the question how lithium ions are stored in T-niobium oxide. So the first step of hypothesizing the lithium-ion storage mechanism is to analyze the structural uniqueness of T-niobium oxide. As we mentioned previously, in the unicell structure of T-niobium oxide, the bonding between the NbO6 or NbO7 polyhedron through oxygen construct the unicell of T-niobium oxide. And by analyzing the crystallographic information of niobium ions and oxygen ions, we can find a few very interesting facts. First, we can see that all niobium ions and the most of oxygen ions locate at the 4H crystallographic sites of PBAM, forming a 4H layer. On the other hand, the rest of oxygen ions locate at the 4G site of the space group PBAM, forming a 4G layer. When the unicell structure is viewed from the C-axis, we can see that the atomic density of the 4G layer is much lower than the atomic density of the 4H layer. So that means the T-niobium oxide structure is not a close-packed structure like the classic ABC-ABC packing or AB-AB packing. Instead, the T-niobium oxide adopts a dense, loose, dense layer arrangement. So given the fact that the atomic density of the 4G layer is much lower than that of the 4H layer, so we can make a hypothesis that the 4G layer could be the most favorable host for all lithium ions. So in the DFT calculation, we randomly put 8 lithium ions in one unit cell. And during the geometry optimization process, the lithium ions will be located at the most thermodynamically stable locations. And as we expected, after the geometry optimization, all lithium ions locate at the 4G site exclusively. And the absorption energies of lithium at the 4G sites show that the absorption energies are very high, which indicate that the lithium-ion storage are very stable. So here we address the crystallographic information of the stored lithium in T-niobium oxide. Also, the DFT calculation also showed that the T-niobium oxide allows very special coordination for each stored lithium. That is, all lithium ions are bridged between oxygens. So this motif right here highlights the details of bridging coordination. So when the two neighboring NbO6 or NbO7 are bonded through the oxygen, and one lithium ion is stored in this motif, the lithium ion will be placed right in between the two oxygens and forming a bridging coordination like this. So in order to confirm the stability of bridging coordination, we calculated the absorption energy of a lithium at bridging sites and a non-bridging site, as shown in this figure. And we can see that as long as the lithium is not bridged between the two oxygens, it will become less stable. So when we view the unit cell with lithium-ion storage from the C-axis, we can see that all lithium ions form bridging coordination with oxygen without any exceptions. So right now, relying on the DFT calculation, the lithium-ion storage behavior is understood. That is, the lithium ions tend to form bridging coordination with oxygen at the 4G layer. So the next very important question is that why the lithium-ion storage in T-niobium oxide is so fast. In order to address this question, we need to analyze the transport path of lithium in T-niobium oxide and analyze the corresponding kinetic properties. So we all know that in the solid-state materials, the connection between two thermodynamically stable lithium sites essentially leads to the elementary lithium-ion transport paths. For T-niobium oxide, although the structure is highly complicated as we mentioned previously, the transport paths for T-niobium oxide can be simply understood as two types, path A and path B. So in case of transport path A, if the neighboring NB06 or NB07 polyhedron are bonded through edge sharing, the lithium ion can move from this bridging site to the other bridging site, then this path is path A. On the other hand, if the neighboring NB06 or NB07 are bonded through corner sharing, when the lithium ion moves from this bridging site to the other bridging site, then this path is path B. And we can see that for both path A and path B, the lithium ion transport does not experience any of hindrance from the positively charged niobium ions. So we can envision that the lithium ion transport within the two paths should be very fast and easy. So based on the two simple elementary transport paths, each lithium ion can migrate to 4 nearby bridging sites, either through path A and path B. Taking this motif right here as an example, the lithium ion at this bridging site can move to site 1 through path A, can move to site 2 through path A, can move to site 3 through path B, and move to site 4 through path B. And then we can calculate the energy profile of lithium ion transport, and we can find that the energy barrier of both path A and path B is very low. It's about 0.2 to 0.3 electron volts. So we can envision that the lithium ion transport within this motif is very easy and fast. And also we can see that the non-bridging site within this transport path is less stable, so the non-bridging site can be considered as the transition states for lithium-ion transport. As we examine the kinetic behavior of elementary lithium-ion transport, when the elementary transport path gets expanded through the entire T-niobium lattice, then we will have the overall lithium-ion transport network. In case of T-niobium oxide, the connection between all bridging sites at the 4G layer essentially leads to a pseudo two-dimensional lithium-ion transport network with fast kinetics. And we can see that the lithium at any of these bridging sites can move to any of other bridging sites with very fast kinetics. And this answers the question why lithium-ion storage in T-niobium oxide is fast. So after the mechanism study, so we have the model which comprehensively describes the lithium-ion storage and transport behavior in T-niobium oxide. Now we have a very important question, that is how we can experimentally verify this model. The answer is we can compare the experimental Raman spectroscopic evolution with the theoretically calculated spectra on the basis of the model. For the experimental Raman spectroscopic evolution, as we mentioned previously, from the high potential state to the low potential state, the high wave number band group experienced a very significant intensity decrease and finally disappeared. The mid wave number band group experienced a band splitting behavior, and the low wave number band group shows a band blue shift. On the other hand, for the theoretically calculated vibrational density states, from the unit cell without lithium-ion storage to the unit cell with lithium-ion storage, we can see that the high wave number contribution of vibrational density of states disappeared after lithium-ion storage. Also, the mid wave number contribution shows a similar splitting behavior, and the low wave number contribution shows a similar band blue shift behavior. So that is the experimental results, and the theoretical calculation are highly consistent. That is, high wave number band group will diminish, the mid wave number band group will split, and the low wave number band group will shift. So the entire proposed model of lithium-ion storage is verified. So after the mechanism study, the very important last question is, how does T-niobium oxide compare with other important battery materials? So here we have 3 most commonly found structures for lithium-ion battery electrodes. The first one is the layered structure, for example, lithium cobalt oxide. And the second one is the polyanion structure, for example, lithium iron phosphate. And the third is the spinel structure, for example, lithium manganese oxide. Then we will compare these structures with structure features of tin niobium oxide, and we can understand the unique battery behavior of tin niobium oxide and understand why the unparalleled rate capability only found for tin niobium oxide, not in other battery materials. So this slide right here summarizes the lithium-ion transport paths for layered structure, polyanion structure, spinel structure, and tin niobium oxide. First, for the atomic packing behavior. In case of layered structure, polyanion structure, and spinel structure, all oxygen ions are close packed, either through ABC-ABC packing or AB-AB packing. However, for tin niobium oxide, the atoms are not close packed, and tin niobium oxide adopts an alternating dense layer arrangement. Such non-closed packed structure offers the extra space for lithium-ion transport in the first place. Second, for the lithium-ion transport paths, in case of layered structure, polyanion structure, and spinel structure, we can see that when the lithium ion moves from one thermodynamically stable location to another location, it will experience significant hindrance from the neighboring bonded positively charged ions, such as transition metal. However, for tin niobium oxide, when the lithium ion moves from one bridging site to another, it won't experience any of hindrance from the niobium. So we can envision that the lithium-ion transport in tin niobium oxide is fast and easy, and the hindrance in the classic battery materials will make the transition state unstable and make the lithium-ion transport harder. Third, regarding to the void size of lithium-ion transport for the layered structure, polyanion structure, and spinel structure, we can see that the void size for lithium-ion transport is approximately 2.6 to 2.7 angstrom. However, for tin niobium oxide, we can see the void size for lithium-ion transport is as large as 4 angstrom, which is much higher than the void size for classic battery materials. So such big void size can offer a huge spacious space for lithium-ion transport, so this is why lithium-ion transport is easy in tin niobium oxide. So comparing to other battery materials, we can understand the unique battery behavior of tin niobium oxide, and this answers the question why the unparalleled rate capability is only found for tin niobium oxide and not in other battery materials. So here is the summary of this study. So starting from the structure of tin niobium oxide, experimentally we performed operando Raman spectroscopy and get the evolution of key Raman band groups. On the other hand, theoretically, also on the basis of the structure of tin niobium oxide, we proposed a model of lithium-ion storage, and we found that lithium ions tend to form bridging coordination with oxygen and locate at the 4G site of tin niobium oxide. Also, on the basis of model of lithium-ion storage, we proposed a model of lithium-ion transport and identified the key reasons for fast lithium-ion storage. So in order to verify the model of lithium-ion storage, we compared the evolution of key Raman band groups with theoretical vibration spectral change on the basis of the model, and we found that the comparison is totally consistent and the model is verified. So through all of these efforts of operando Raman spectroscopy, model of lithium-ion storage, and the model of lithium-ion transport, we finally unraveled the nature of fast energy storage in tin niobium oxide. So finally, I would like to acknowledge my professors, Professor Mei-Ling Liu and Professor Mostafa El-Said, for their support and guidance on my study. And also, I would like to thank Georgia Tech School of Material Science and Engineering and Georgia Tech School of Chemistry and Biochemistry. And finally, my sincerest appreciation goes to IOM3 and CBMM for this marvelous opportunity to present our work here. Thank you so much.